as the year goes on, I get closer and closer.
So to learn new skills and to build new acumen.
And we can always touch. It's not.
When you get that, then you get a lot more excited about being around children.
Normal, in a sense, with all of the changes, of course.
Or how you can transform your own business.
On developing the whole child, socially, emotionally.
Traditional route of teaching young boys
how to set boundaries, because this little victim here needs to know how to.
Doing very well, so they use that term.
Sometimes expanded them to go up to 40 minutes.
All of those things in education, of course, those things are important.
Student is going to our heads and our lungs.
The affirmations in the mirror for about 2 minutes.
What did you do in order to get yourself going?
This is amazing.
It happens, what seems to happen quite a bit in our school.
For the families to come, and they...
Is that really for the child, or is it for us, for the parent?
And doing new things for our brain.
Who's orchestrating everything in this universe?
Which parts of the brain are used?
Based on that map that we have.
See you with your smiling face.
Atul, thank you very much for allowing me to join you. Namaste to you, my friends.
I love watching that video and seeing all the wonderful faces and friends that I've made. And as you and I were talking before it started, is from adversity sometimes grows opportunities. And I love that you and I, Nina, have gotten to know each other. Everyone, this is Nina Miller-Stone. Nina, say hi.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. It's great to be here.
I'm excited. And Nina, you're coming to us from?
Maple Grove, Minnesota, right outside of Minneapolis.
Okay, so I'm Marianne Harmon from Music with Mare, and Atul Tyagi is still not back with us, but he is here in spirit, and you will be seeing his face again soon. So today's topic is about using music for transitions. I want to thank those of you that are signing on. We already have some comments here. Let's see. I am a facilitator of Early Childhood Center, and I feel this is information for me to know more about with children. Yes, absolutely. This is a topic that a lot of times I'll get asked if I could come do a workshop on this. And I used to think, how am I going to talk for 2 hours on transitions? And then when you get into it, wow. So Nina, here's something else to you. Welcome to the new session, to learn something new, to know something new, which helps us in our professional and personal. And that one I saw already. I'm surprised at how many have popped up already. It usually takes a while. And everyone that is signing on and sending hellos, if you could please put your name, because I cannot see your name. So hello, Miss Nina, but she doesn't know who's saying hello.
But hello.
Nina, here's a message from Atul. You are a bundle of joy. Enjoyed watching your YouTube channel. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
How sweet. It's so Debbie Clement. Exciting to pop in. It did take a while to get through the link. Oh, Debbie, you and technology. And here's someone else logging on. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you so all these people that are excited can actually hear you talking. So Nina Stone, also known as Miss Nina, is a Parents' Choice Award winner, of children's music artist, entertainer, educator, and creator of Miss Nina's weekly video show on YouTube. And congratulations, you are reaching your 10-year anniversary of your show. Yes. Awesome. She specializes in movement and music for preschoolers and the preschool classroom. She has a degree from NYU in educational theater and is a former professional dancer and former classroom preschool teacher. So you've been busy in the short 21 years you've been alive. Yes.
21.
Combining experiences and knowledge, she loves to help preschool teachers use music and movement across the curriculum for everything. So we have so much in common, Nina. Yeah. Even that living in New Jersey for a bit thing. From classroom management to teaching early literacy skills and everything in between. She's passionate about helping young children, early childhood teachers, parents, special ability friends, and loves to help everyone have a joyful learning experience. You can find out more about her on her website, mymissnina.com. And let me see. Before we get started, there was one. Okay, so let's get right into this.
Sure.
Why do teachers think transitions are so difficult?
Well, I think it's the key is it's a time of in the classroom that's typically unplanned. You know, we have all this wonderful knowledge, especially in the like toddler 2s and 3s. It might be a little bit easier in the 4s and 5s, just a smidge. But we know that children can't tell time, and so we typically have a schedule, a visual schedule in the classroom that helps them know, oh, first is circle time, and then is art, and then we have pictures of the teachers. We have all of that, and it's hugely helpful to let them know what comes next, what comes next, what comes next. But the times in between all those activities, moving from one to the next, for some teachers it can become mayhem or or just a breakdown. And I think that's just because, you know, the children are suddenly unanchored to an activity, right? And you may be able to speak to the brain and the psychology of what goes on there. But in my experience, just like all of a sudden, you know, they're no longer immersed in something right in front of them, whether it's a book, a toy, an activity, or whatever. They might know we're moving on to a new activity, but they all of a sudden it's like, what's happening? I miss mommy, or I have to go to the bathroom, or I'm hungry, or I want to hit you. You know, like there's any number of things. Yes. And all of a sudden you may have, you know, if you're a classroom teacher, maybe there's just 2 of you in there and you have 5 kids suddenly off the rails. It's really hard to move on to that next activity, and you kind of lose them, you know? And so I think that's one of a big lump of reasons why transitions are difficult.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That was a wonderful, concise way of explaining it. And I think you made it really clear for people to understand. I just want to tell you that you have a shout out from Risa, who says, I didn't think I'd make it live. I'm happy to catch the spotlight. I'm a huge fan, Nina.
Oh, Risa, I'm a huge fan of Risa as well. I feel like we are cut from
wonderful. And saying it's great, especially for us to know more about children, especially learn about understanding what's going on. Yeah. Okay, so now that we know that that's that short time where we can lose their attention. It's why a lot of times I'll tell teachers when you're doing a song with them and you have the kids up there and they're jumping around and then you end the song, you've left them out there and they're going to make up stuff to do.
Yeah.
So it's really good when the song is over to bring them back so you have them focused. So why and how, if you would explain, does music help make transitions easier?
Well, I'm going to tie it to, and this kind of ties into like strategies, but like I said, we don't tend to plan the transitions. We have a plan, we have a schedule, but we don't have a transition plan. And I think it's as important to have a routine of transitions as you do for your activities, so that almost every minute of your class is planned. And transition songs or musical activities are perfect for this, because you've got, you know, if you know that, you know, they come in the classroom and you're going to call them over to the, you know, circle time is first. Well, I know, let's do our, like, come on over to the carpet song, right? That's a transition. You're going to transition from playing to the carpet. Then after you do your circle time or whatever, we're going to go, it's time for art. I've got the let's grab a smock song. And I use a song and everything just to change the dynamic from speaking voice to singing voice. And honestly, again, I think you might be able to speak to this, the psychology of it, even why, but I just noticed in my classroom that what the strum of a guitar or a nice relaxed singing voice can do to the kids. We're out in all different, maybe we're having fun playing or we're doing an activity and suddenly I strum the guitar and all of a sudden everybody just turns. It's just a gathering force. It's a different sound. It's a different dynamic. And I think one of the keys for all the music that you use in the classroom and the transitions is using dynamics really well.
Oh, yes.
So
when children are loud, our gut reaction of people is to get louder, and actually it's getting softer.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And let's see, would you mind to tell us the reciprocal relation between children and the educator that helps the children? Yeah, that will be a part of what she's discussing with the transitions. Nina, you see this question here?
Yeah, the reciprocal relationship.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm not I don't know if I'm going to answer it directly, right?
Yeah.
But you're still in these situations. I think one of the great things about transition songs and music is you're still the leader of the group instead of it becoming about trying to engage one-on-one with each child. Because if you take your attention to just one, then the other 5, 7, 10 might kind of unhinge a little bit, right? Like if you just go, but if something that's a song that gathers everybody's attention at one time to you, you're not like, I do like us to be on, I like to be at eye level with the kids. Generally, there's a lot of great things about making us, I'm the teacher, but equal in energy, maybe. But so I don't want it to be about like I'm the teacher and I'm the ruler of the class, but I just say like as the guide or the leader, song can help you stay and get everybody's attention at the same time instead of having to reach out one-on-one. I don't know if that answers the question exactly, but that's what came to mind first.
Yes. That's I think the idea is that as a teacher, there is a relationship.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure what she means by reciprocal, but by them getting you to help with telling them what to do, you're both benefiting.
Yes.
Like the child is benefiting because you're taking control of the situation and you're helping them to stay safe. Children feel very unsafe when they don't know what's going to happen next. It's just like us. Like you went into work one day and there was no plan and you knew you were only going to get paid if you did what you were supposed to do, but no one told you what it was. You would be like this all day long.
Right.
Children are the same way. So when we give them direction and then they benefit, but we also benefit, and that's how it becomes reciprocal. Going back to the when you just play the guitar or change your voice volume, and I do want you to give a few examples of how you do that, but that's like a pattern interrupt.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, the brain hears something different. We're getting some really interesting questions here today. You can read that out loud.
Why does the environment consider as a third teacher for the development of children? I've never heard it put that way, but I can speak.
Nor have I.
I can put, but I do know that I was in a young classroom, and I taught at first with a classroom. It was a 2-hour preschool readiness class, and a parent or caregiver was there with the child, but we still I did the whole classroom. It was so that they can get used to how it works without having separation anxiety. But I'd always found about the environment that you're trying to set the child up for success at all times, instead of everything being like a no, don't do that, stop, you know what I mean? Which then adds for, again, I don't know if this is exactly what you're asking, but I just want school and the classroom to be an enjoyable environment for the children, and someplace they want to come back to and feel free to explore in. And you get to put the structures and the boundaries in there. But you want it to be an environment for playfulness. And when I say like set them up for success, like, I learned to do things, you don't want to, although it looks really great to put like the art project out on the table for when they come in the classroom, right? I'd only do that if they're allowed to come right to it. But often people will put something out and then be like, no, don't touch, come over here.
Yeah, good point.
And you're like, who can deal with that? That takes a lot of experience of delayed gratification, and so that's just a simple example of like, if your environment's set like that and then you tell them no, they can't do it, then you're setting all of you up for like, you're a punitive teacher. All of a sudden they're going to feel like they're doing something wrong, and that's an environment that I don't think you're intentionally trying to set up. You're trying to have this really fun thing happen, but so instead you put out what they're allowed to play with, right? And then you don't bring out the next thing until it's time for them, and then that's like just one small example. I don't know if that exactly speaks to what you're asking. Yeah.
Hello, Sana. Thank you for joining us. You were talking about the types of pattern interrupts that you use.
Yeah.
Talk on that a little bit more, because I think that's very helpful, that many teachers don't realize that you can just talk like this.
Yeah. So dynamics, right? So very simple, loud versus soft, and big versus little, I'll give you an example of how I learned the hard way. And when I started down my journey to figure out, it really was, I was teaching drama actually after school at a Montessori. And I had this wonderful teacher who was able to have just command of a classroom in a way that I did not yet, which I just think comes with time and seasoning and things like that. She could just go like this, and they would all just like watch her, And anyway, but she was not there. I was taking over the class. We had just finished an activity, and we just finished. It was the end. And I didn't have any of tools that I have now that, like, if we finish an activity, I would say something like, put your hands on your head if you're ready for the next activity, right? Something that gets them ready, or touch your ears if you're listening. Like, these are non-musical ones, but these are like attention getters and things that keeps the energy. I didn't know those yet. So we finished the activity, and the kids just ran. We were in the gym, right? And they just ran and screamed. And for them, it was wonderful. But for me, I felt so out of control, and I didn't know what's happening. And this is like one of the most regrettable things of my career. I feel like I yelled like, stop, right?
We've all done it.
Scared them to death, right? You know what I mean? And it was not effective, right? It was not effective. It didn't bring the energy back, didn't bring us back to a playful place. Maybe they stopped, but they were scared or whatever. And that was the first time they got loud and big. So I got louder and bigger. It felt awful, and it doesn't work, right? Or if it does, you're not going to feel good about it, I found. And so then in my experience, I did start to find that when the energy is big, right, it's really, really loud, and we're using regular human voices. And if I try and yell, they're really not going to hear me if I try to get louder. But if I go something like that, a high-pitched sound was totally different than what the sound is in the room. That gets their attention. They'll at least turn and look. And I can even, again, I'm not necessarily singing. I could do that. Touch your nose if you heard that sound, and all of a sudden we're using our ears. It's just a pattern interrupt, like you said. And so that sort of thing. Likewise, at the beginning, I think it's also you need to take into account, you need to read the room, as we say. I'm going to grab my guitar here for just a second. At the beginning of class, sometimes, we would have a class where it was like 15, come in, and the first 15 minutes are just free play. And it was pretty quiet. It wasn't like getting crazy. in that case, there's no need for me to suddenly start clapping my hands and going wild. I didn't need to do that, but simply strumming and over the carpet, and I'll say, come on over, come on over, come on over, everyone, come on over for some circle time fun. Right? And so I'm singing it in a very calm way. It's not necessarily a complete opposing dynamic, but it's different. It's a pattern interrupt. It's soothing. And it also gives really clear instructions, which I think is also really important in your transition songs.
Yes.
So
I want to take a moment here. We have someone that's asking questions that are off topic, and I appreciate that you have these questions. And I want to stay on topic today on transitions. Someone's asking about how to teach reading readiness or phonetics, and that is something Risa is going to be addressing in her spotlight in a couple of weeks. So although I know Nina is fully qualified to answer these questions, as am I, we would like to stick with today's topic. And please tune in when we do address that in a couple of weeks. And let's see here. Preeti, wish my class was this musical when I was a child. Loved it, Nina.
Oh, thank you.
That's really cool. We all get those moments where we scream when our first year of teaching.
Yeah.
We realize that was not good. It's kind of like parenting, the same thing. We learn the skills as we go along. And unfortunately, sometimes we do things, we look back and go, I should not have done that. But luckily, children are resilient and we are capable of changing. I like a pattern interrupt that I would do with the kids is I would start singing, talking to them in like a made up language.
That's great.
They would be out of control and I go, and they all would stop and look at me like, what? And I go, no, but that. And they'd all be quiet and I go, oh, you don't understand me? Oh, I couldn't understand you either with all that sound. Now that I have your attention, but it's amazing those little silly tricks that will transition them from being like this to paying attention. So I know that you have a lot of songs and strategies that you use. So not just show them to us, but explain. Now let's see. Again, loose materials and parts and etc. Those are things that we will discuss in another spotlight. Today, our topic is transitions. So let's stick with the transitions. We will see if we can find ways to work like loose part materials. I mean, you, Nina, could find ways to use loose part materials to help with transitions, I'm sure. It's just I grabbed the gibberish out of nowhere. Around and see that a chair happens to be there. So I'm going to start using the chair like a drum, and that will get the attention. And that's one of the ways that you can do that sort of thing. And Debbie, I talk in gibberish also often. I'm pretty fluent in it. So I'm from Jersey. Okay, so Nina, back to you here. I love that we're getting all these interruptions. This is phenomenal. It's great. So let's not just share the strategy, but the how to do the strategy, why to do the strategy. So that the people watching can use them and know how to use them properly.
Well, so what I would say is, so if we're going to do, let's talk about songs specifically right now, because there are other ways to use music and sound like we just shared where you don't have to sing, but just for the moment, songs. Like I said, I think it's really important, especially for your youngest classes who are just maybe learning school or they really need routine, that you do use the same transition song at the same time every day. I know to you that sounds really boring, but it's like awesome for the kids, right? They will know what comes next. Even if you need to have a different cleanup song for after, their first playtime and a different cleanup song when it's the end of the day, And again, you don't necessarily, if you're not a singer, or you don't have to sing them, you might have it recorded somewhere, right? And you play, okay, it's time for this one. You have your whole playlist for your songs in class, right? You can use music without it being you, the singer. But if you are somebody and you want to come up with the songs, what I would say is for your transitions, it's really important that you have, again, different dynamics in your transition songs. You don't want to sing the exact same tune for every transition song.
No.
For instance, right? Happy and You Know It. It's amazing. You've got I have a list somewhere that, because I'm trying to make this into more of a talk for some other time. This is the beginning of it for sure. But all these nursery rhyme songs, typical ones like Happy and You Know It, Farmer in the Dell, Clementine. These are all tunes that children start hearing almost as soon as they're born, right? They're like, they're in the toys, and they're kind of everywhere. So they know them already. Maybe they know them from home, from you singing ABCs, Bad Bad Black Sheep, that sort of thing. So these tunes as transition songs are very comforting, right? And like you said, they tend to, it can feel really scary, in between when they don't know what's happening. But a song that's one recognizes, I don't know if that's happened to you. It happened to me all my life. Like in school, all of a sudden we hear like a pop song in 5th grade, and I'm like, I feel so myself right now. I feel like, like there's just some sort of real grounding and comfort in a familiar tune. So using these familiar tunes is really important, right? So again, for instance, Happy and You Know It. Like I would have between my when it was time for art, we would sing, if you want to grab a smock, if you want to do some art, grab a smock and have a seat. If you want to do some art, grab a smock and have a seat. If you want to do some art, if you want to do some art, if you want to do some art, grab a smock and have a seat at the table. And it was that simple, right? But if for my next transition, I used Happy and You Know It again, it would start getting confusing, and the whole class sounds the same, right? So so after art, I might be like, let's say we're gonna I don't know, get ready to go outside. Like I would sing, let's all go get our jackets. Let's all go get our jackets. Let's all go get our jackets and line up at the door. Totally different tune, right?
And motivational.
What'd you say?
And motivational.
And motivational, exactly. So, and especially, it does get a little more like peppy because we're going to go outside and do something, right? So I think it's super important to use different tunes for each transition, and different pitches. I had two of my favorite people in the world who taught in a classroom next to me, right? But it was so funny because they would start to sing the cleanup song, right? We might all be familiar with It's Cleanup Time, everybody. It's cleanup time, everyone. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but they would, okay, I'll sing it, but they would very low, very slow. It's cleanup time, everybody. It's clean. Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, and so it was like, oh, we need to maybe take it up a little bit or make it a little faster or something, because they were always using it. I don't know how effective it was in their classroom, but again, so different tunes for each transition. Again, you can go back to some of them. I would use Happy and You Know It again later for put your backs against the wall. When we were lining up to go somewhere, and we put our backs against the wall, put your backs against the wall, and stand up nice and tall, put your backs against the wall, right? So that's Happy and You Know It again. But it's way much further down in the class than the last time I used Happy and You Know It. And I would say, I don't know if I'm going all over the place there, but
no, it's fine.
Okay.
This might help. Sorry, unless you had a thought you were completing.
Okay.
Preeti had this question.
I would love to know a few ideas, especially for the time when children come back to the class from the play area. Okay, sure. So from the playing outside, right? Okay, so all of these things kind of depends on, are you bringing them back inside or is somebody else bringing them, right? If it's from outside, again, you have to kind of gauge, because the energy is a little high probably, and if you got to find between where your energy is. But there's a great song called Do As I'm Doing. It's like a music class song, and it goes, do as I'm doing and follow me, do as I'm doing and follow me, right? And you can change it any way you want. So I would say, do as I'm doing and march to the carpet with me. Do as I'm doing and march to the carpet with me. Or use your marching feet and have them follow you, right? Over to the carpet. And then you could just change and sit down on your spot or something at the end to have them. So you've got the song, you've got sort of a spirited song that gathers the energy and has instructions to where you want to take them. And I will just interject here right here. One thing that came to my mind was when you can make up these transition songs certainly on your own. You've got the tune and the only ingredients you need. It doesn't even have to rhyme. If it does, fantastic. But it just has to have very clear instructions and be repetitive, because keep it simple, right? So put your backs against the wall. Clear, right? That's all they have to do. Or, if you want to do some art, grab a smock. I had a box of smocks, so grab a smock and have a seat. Or come on over, and then come to you. Just very clear, very repetitive. So it's not like a ton of instructions. We can be very, very clear with our songwriting, of course, and there's a time and place for that. But for transition songs, I think very clear instructions, very repetitive, is really, really important. So you could make up your own, whatever it needs to be, find one of these tunes and put it together. And I think you will have great solutions that way. But I can certainly give you some other suggestions of actual songs as well. I will add, I know for classroom management, there's one thing I learned back then about the 2-minute warning song, right? Or the 5-minute warning song. And I think it's wonderful because the kids do need warnings, right? I remember this when I was little, to suddenly be like, you're in the middle of playing and then it's like, okay, clean up. And they take something right out of your hands.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't like that now as an adult,
Exactly.
So it turns off the TV on me or something, right? We need warning, right? We need to be, it's respectful. So this very simple song where we say, I looked at my clock or watch. I looked at my watch and what did it say? 5 more minutes for us to play. And then you just have to be really good about making sure it's 5 minutes so that they learn the value of time, instead of what we tend to do as parents when we're like, 10 more minutes. And then you keep talking to your friend. And then,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in the classroom, try and be like, okay, it's 5 more minutes. And then, or you give a 2-minute warning, whatever it is. And then I looked at my clock and what did it say? No more minutes for us to play. It's time to put our toys away. It's cleanup time. And then I launched into this cleanup medley that I've always done after that. But you could do any cleanup song or put on your cleanup song or something like that. So
that's good stuff. I'm sorry, there was an echo there, and I don't know where it came from. So.
Okay.
Anyway, I have a couple of cleanup songs, and I like to make cleanup songs that are upbeat, so that they want to clean, I have one do clean up. That's what I say, and I have a cleanup song that I put to the
that's cute.
Right?
Yeah.
Things that make them want to clean up.
Yeah, motivating, fun. Yep.
Right. You match. It's entrainment, musical entrainment. Someone's asking about how does music help to learn the pattern. And help their emotion. Well, it's called entrainment. So if you want children to do something and get it done, then you have to find music that matches that emotion. But when it's over, if you want them quiet, then you have to transition into a quieter, calming song. Right. So it's a lot of psychology in what we do.
Yeah. And the repetition of it too is, it's not going to happen your first day of class that they all get it, right? If you're doing it, right? It's something about the repeating that same routine, those same transitions, all that over and over again soon they're going to depend on it. They're going to know what comes next. They're going to start singing it for you, right?
Right. It's like that child that comes in and they're like, hi, today's Friday, right? And on Friday, you read the book to us on the carpet, right? And then we have pizza. It's pizza day. Those kids are the kids we know that come from homes that are not so structured. And when they get to you, they feel safe because they know that you have these patterns and you have these routines and they listen for them. And especially children with special needs, you go off that routine. And I know you've worked with children on special needs, and you want to talk about how that might be a little bit more important. This isn't one of the questions I sent you, but
yeah, I mean, I would say I have to say it's interesting. I'm not specifically trained in this at all, but I am. Children and families of children with special needs have been drawn to me and I to them. And so I do work with them a lot. And so it would just be experience right now telling you that, that yes, they, not only are they dealing with life on life's terms as we all are, which can be out of control and unpredictable, their own bodies can be out of their control and unpredictable, right? It's which I mean is unsettling, right, for anybody. And so to have these very specific, they know what comes next, they know what we do, they know what's coming, is so reassuring and soothing to them. Also, makes you and either your class or your session a really safe space for them to be themselves, which is huge, huge. I would say. I don't. Do you have more to say to that? I don't necessarily have anything like technically to say, but that's mine.
I learned that the same way you did.
Yeah.
I did not have training in special ed at first, although I have some now. But you follow the child's lead.
Yeah.
And that's what last week's talk, following the leader, and the leader is the child. So it's important that for children whose lives are already unpredictable, that we make sure we do stick to our routines and that we do have those transition signals so they know. And I know that there's some that are non-musical or, like you said, without singing. The bells, the glockenspiel used to before, but there's a couple of others I'm sure that are non-singing.
Sure, for transitions or what have you, right? And I guess some people call these attention getters, right? Because there's that too, right? You want to either get their attention or keep their attention. And so a lot of you know these, and they might be with speech, or they might just be rhythm, right? So you might first have to tell them, when I clap 3 times, you clap 3 times. If you hear me clap 3 times, you clap 3 times. So you go, and so you practice that at first, and then that can become one of your attention getters before you transition, right? Like you're in the middle of whatever and you go, and then they do it too, right? So that's using rhythm is one way, or like you said, using, I call it dramatics. You did gibberish, right? Suddenly going, oh my, and just to yourself. I mean, this is the principle of this is the principle of my mother eating an apple, right? I used to I never wanted to eat an apple till my mother sat there enjoying one by herself, and then you're like, that sounds so crunchy and good, Yes. If she offered it to me, I wouldn't want it, but she's eating it. Or some people say they want to get their kid to play music. They won't play music. They sit down themselves to play the piano. The kid's over there. So there's I suddenly look up at the ceiling, or maybe I just start tiptoeing over somewhere, or I just use my attention somewhere in a quiet way, and one kid notices and another kid notices, and you'll get everyone's attention because it's where you put your focus. They'll put their focus. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Using familiar tunes, I clap my hands and I sing, "Will you be quiet?"
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Sometimes after they say yes, ma'am, they start talking again. But a couple, I really meant it. Okay. but being silly about it too, not just being, I said be quiet now, but to be silly. I said be quiet. And then they realize that, oh, she's being playful. And then when you have your attention, you transition to letting them know, and I'm also being serious,
Right.
Let's see. Marianne, your experience is inspiring. It's awesome how you share an example for any situation. Thank you. Thank you, Preeti. And back when she was saying to you, that's fantastic. Thank you, Nina. So Preeti is enjoying these suggestions that we are both sharing. And important, that you brought up the point that it doesn't have to always be singing. It could be clapping or drama. I love how you use the drama because nobody wants to miss out on something.
Right.
So if you're going, what?
Right. Or even things like put something behind your back. They want to know what's behind your back, even if there ends up being nothing behind, put something behind your back, put on a hat.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Like, open a drawer and go.
Yeah. All kinds of ways that they're like, what? And then you can be like, and it's just these nonverbal, quiet instructions that if you're using the dramatics, really brings them in. We all love drama.
Yeah, I love your example about the apple. That's exactly what happens. It's better to do something than to try to talk somebody into it.
Right.
They see you having fun, which that brings me to an important point is that transition times don't happen just in school. Yeah. They happen at home. And I know another thing we have in common is our daughters were a lot of our inspiration. And also for lack of a better word, our laboratory.
Yeah, for sure.
You try out on your own child and you're like, yes, that'll work. Yeah. And you try it on your own child and you're like, what went wrong? And sometimes she would tell me, Mom, no kid would do that. Not just as a teacher, but these are things that could be done at home as a parent. Yeah, one might even say they would work on a spouse. Oh, yeah. Take out the garbage right now. So let's talk about, how a practical use of transitions, even in the home. And that when we're doing them at home, it's almost like a laboratory so that we could get more comfortable in the classroom. So
I remember to Piper, I'm the type of person that me and my sisters, you hear somebody says a phrase, and if it's a song from an old 70s song, we're we start singing the whole song. So I turn everything into a song anyway, not necessarily my own, but I turn almost everything. And I remember having to change, my daughter's name is Piper, and having to change her diaper. And I'd be like, it's diaper time, it's diaper time, I would just take anything, and use it. But I started using it kind of repeatedly, not for everything. I definitely was not as organized at my home as I was in my classroom.
Nina, 1 second. You're saying that and it makes me laugh because I used to, it's time to burp, let out that gas. It's time.
Yeah. Anything. But I know this is talking about an entirely different person, but I don't know if you're familiar with Verid and she has her company's called Baby in Tune. I can't remember her last name. It starts with a B. I don't know how to say it. She's wonderful. She's a music artist, a Parents' Choice Award-winning music artist and all that stuff. And but she really specializes in parent-child bonding in the early years. And she talks a lot about how songs start building those routines at home, right? You start singing to your baby at bath time, whatever it is, whatever song you want to make up, whatever it is. They start having these internal cues. You just start singing that song when they're 3. You've been singing to them since they've been, a week old, It's a cue. Oh, it's bath time. It makes the home manageable in some of these more trickier times. Same with some people will say at bedtime, like it's bed-ish time, it's starting to you just click on some soft music for the evening, right? Like it's just, it's maybe it's at 6:30 or 7 or whatever it is, and you turn on the quiet music, and that starts becoming a thing. Oh, this is the time to start quieting down and getting ready for bed. So there's like musical cues you can start using at home. But then yes, also routines like, everybody struggles with putting on the shoes and socks, right? Like, that's always a thing. And it's also important. I think we have lots of power struggles at home when they're really little too, because they're trying to have autonomy. And so if you say, put your shoes on, they might not put their shoes on because they're like, let's see what happens if I don't put my shoes on. There's a lot of stuff that's different from school going on at home. But if you just sing a song about putting your shoes on, it makes it different. It's not about that anymore. It's just like, all I can keep thinking of is that let's all go to the lobby song. Like, let's all put on our shoes. But it's a good one.
It is a good one. And also when we as teachers start practicing these rituals and routines for transitions at home with our own children, then we're making the teacher's job easier because our children go to school knowing how to follow those. Of course, those of us, not that it's happened to me, might get phone calls about why does your child sing every time I give it a command? Hey, time for recess. It's time for recess. It's time for recess. That was my daughter,
That's funny.
They model us.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't know if anyone has any more questions about transitions. We're getting near the end of our time. I'm sure Nina and I could just keep right on talking because there's just so much that you learn naturally as you're going along. And just always consider, do this for a moment, always consider, how would I feel if I was the child? And you made such a good point about timing and not just going, okay, put that away, time to go. And Peter Alsop has a really good song. He's another one of our eminent speakers here. And he has a good song called My Clock. And it's about a child saying, you have a clock, but I have my own clock. And what you might say, let's go, but on my clock, I'm not there yet.
Right.
And it's put in such simple child terms. It's one of the things I love about Peter's music, so that understand this always more for adults than for children. Yeah. Understand where the child is at. I know that a lot of times we go over and we see children who've been spending like almost an hour building something, and we walk over and go, okay, time for lunch, let's go.
Right.
Okay, especially boys, and I'm not being sexist, but boys want you to recognize their work.
Mm-hmm.
Girls want you to tell you how you feel about it.
Yes.
I love the colors. Okay. But you need to stop and say, wow, tell me what you built here.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying, I love what you did. Oh, look at, but say, tell me what you did and tell me why'd you do it? It looks like you had fun. After you've done that, then you can say, we're going to be going to lunch soon. I need you to break this down and put it away. Would you like me to take a picture before you do that?
Right.
Right? Then that little brain's going to go, I love this woman. She validated my work. I would do anything for her,
Right.
And that's the thing you have to remember. If you were working on a project and your boss just came over and said, time's up.
Right.
But didn't ask you anything, you would feel devalued. So I love the points that you were making there on, taking the time to talk with the children and helping them transition. So we have time for you to put closing thoughts on that.
Oh, gosh. that's one part of it. It's hard to close. It's hard to wrap it up.
Right?
It is. I would say I do think that one of the things that gave me the most success with transitions, which I've said a few times, but it bears repeating, is planning your transitions, giving even your transitions a routine, knowing after my circle time, we're going to sing this song. After my this song, we're going to do it this way. Having those planned helps with your classroom management, right? They're as planned as the rest of your class. You're going to have less times of the kids going, what's next? What happens now? Can I go home now? I have to go to the bathroom, like all the things, right? So, I mean, that would be my main thing, like plan whatever they are, whether they're all songs, whether they're music, whether it's movement, dramatics, you've got all these different ideas, have them all planned as well. And I think it goes a long way in your classroom management and helping the kids have a great time and also making your classroom feel like this warm, loving, respectful, fun environment.
Now, if people wanted to find some of these transition songs,
yes.
So on your YouTube channel, do you have like a playlist where they could go and say, "Oh, transition songs"? I should make one specifically for that. 2 summers ago, I did a 4-part series on my YouTube channel for circle time tips and tricks. And there's one about transition songs. And I made that a playlist right on my YouTube channel. If you search either like Miss Nina's children's songs, it was initially, the actual channel name was initially the Miss Nina Weekly Video Show. But if you look at Miss Nina's children's songs or whatever, you go to my channel, I've got that playlist on there. So that's one thing. But I can also, I have been doing, coming up on 10 years of doing videos once a week, almost every week for 10 years. I know, I can't believe it. It might be time to retire. No, I'm kidding. No.
But so lots of songs there. And like I said, a lot of these songs are traditional children's songs in the public domain and can be, take those tunes and turn them into transition songs, almost any song there. But I will do that today. I will actually make up a playlist of transition songs specifically and put that on my YouTube channel page. So you can find that on YouTube, or you can come over to my website, which is mymissnina.com. And the blog page is all my weekly, my videos that way too, if you don't like to be on YouTube. So.
And we do share a lot of them on this Early Child Global Mastermind group. I would like to just add one, of course, brain fact about those songs that are piggyback songs. Mm-hmm. Because the brain already knows the melody, the part of the brain that has to focus on the melody doesn't have to focus as much because it knows. So it can give some attention to the lyrics and the messaging. And so that's why those are even more helpful, because the brain doesn't feel so overwhelmed. It's like, oh, okay, I already know the music. Let me pay attention to the words. So, yeah, so that's...
There you go. That's why they work. I didn't know the why. I just knew they did.
That's my brain tip for today. Nina, I can keep right on talking to you. You know that you have such wonderful ideas. And you're warm and friendly. You're not like, okay, I'm gonna play my guitar and we're gonna sing. You're not. You're like, what are we doing today? And there's so many in this group that are like that. Like Risa and Debbie and Carol and Ellen, Liz. We're all like, you engage the kids, but your smile is so special.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Mary.
And I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank everyone for all your input and questions. And for those of you that had some questions that were a little bit off topic, we tried to cover it a little bit if we could, but I do encourage you, if you're interested in the reading, listen when Risa does hers on connecting music with literacy. Nina, Debbie's saying we are the Mutual Admiration Society.
Indeed.
Yes, that we are. So we all work together, complimenting one each other. And by that, I don't mean going, oh, you're wonderful. I mean complimenting because you do your right. And I'm so happy to have gotten to meet you. Thank you, Atul, for giving us this ability to share. And what we're going to do now is say bye. Unless anybody has a last minute comment or question, we are going to sign off.
All right. Bye, everyone.